7, and your power play multiplier is 4. Let's take another look at tonight's winning numbers. Remember, there are multiple ways to win. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you back here on Monday night.
Live from Augusta, we're watching News 1226 at 11.
God bless America, land that I love.
Well, there's the sound. Today is Veterans Day, and all around the CSRA, we were celebrating our service members. Audrey, you were downtown today in the rain for the first Augusta Veterans Day parade since 2019.
Craig, despite the weather, people lined the streets and walked in the Veterans Day parade downtown in Augusta. And the veterans I spoke with were proud to be out there and represent and show support. Rain or shine, people marched.
We have a saying in the Army, it doesn't rain in the Army, it rains on the Army.
Or stood on the sidelines to support our veterans.
I believe people were still out because they wanted to support the veterans and wanted to just show their appreciation and just say thank you.
As well as honor them.
Bless America.
Because some of our vets didn't hear thank you for your service or welcome home after initially serving. Sonny and his friends all served in Vietnam.
We didn't get a welcome. We got just the opposite. It took them 50 years to recognize Vietnam veterans. 50 years. And it felt good when it did.
And they say it's important to understand why people came out today, regardless of the weather.
We need to remember the sacrifice that those ahead of us gave and recognize the fact that our freedom is not free and that the service that all of these people ahead of us gave and who have followed us as we are getting older have given is what keeps this country free.
And remember those who served or who are no longer with us.
To come every year in remembrance of the guys who we served with and a number of which are no longer with us. And we try to come every year to honor the veterans that were with us and all other veterans of all the wars.
Sweet home.
They also said the next time you see a veteran, ask them their story. They say it's important to hear about everyone's experience and understand why it is important to honor our veterans.
Thank you to all of those who have served, including my own parents and grandparents who also served. We're also at North Augusta's event, which we will have for you later. But first, we're going to toss things over to meteorologist Emily Acton.
Yeah, that was a great story, Audrey. Glad that we got to showcase that. Sadly, it was raining this afternoon, and the rain really hasn't stopped as we headed into the evening. Overnight, still going to be isolated in pattern, like we're seeing this light rainfall. So not anything super heavy, but again, still seeing some rain. And like I said, that's going to last overnight tonight. For our area and into the morning hours, we can still expect this light rainfall. So it's just really a drizzle out there. So for your Sunday service forecast, definitely going to need a rain jacket throughout the day. But once we get into the afternoon, things are looking a little bit better. And once we get into the evening, things are going to be clearing up. Our Monday's looking a lot drier for us. Might even see the sun a few times. Craig, I miss seeing the sun because I guess it's really only been a day, but yeah, it's been a dreary weekend. Unfortunately, that trend's going to continue Sunday, but Monday things are looking up.
Alrighty, thanks for the heads up there, Emily. Now, a person of interest in a deadly shooting on Bleakley Street has been interviewed by police, but we're still waiting to learn more about this incident. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office responded to a home on Bleakley Street in reference to a homicide. Deputies found a 50-year-old male who was shot at least once. Officials say he died at the hospital and that the investigation is ongoing. Now, the Augusta Green Jackets partnered up with Complete Game for a canned food drive and baseball clinic they do each year on Veterans Day for a good cause. Those two events together honor the memory of veteran Terry Childers Sr. The food drive benefits Golden Harvest Food Bank as well. The clinic was at SRP Park on the field but moved indoors because of the rain. Childers' son and the owner of the Complete Game spoke on what his community event meant to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Today being Veterans Day, my father being a veteran, it's just a great day to give back to the community and get some free baseball lessons.
He said his father was the first full-time baseball coach at Augusta College, which is now Augusta University. AU, USC-Aiken, and Payne College had instructors out there to help as well. And the 25th Augusta Annual Head of the South Rowing Regatta took place today. More than 2,500 out-of-town rowers, coaches, and visitors were expected to attend the rowing regatta race along the Savannah River. It is said to be one of the top 5 largest single-day regattas in the nation. And the 5K rowing race was contested in the rain this year, but the rowers held their water and still put on a show for those that attended. And over in North Augusta, there was a Veterans Day ceremony presented by the Jesse Lynch Memorial Post of the American Legion. They rang bell to recognize the members of the Legion that have passed since last Veterans Day. Members of all the traditional branches were there, and one veteran took a moment to speak about people still celebrating Veterans Day.
Well, it warms my heart because we are still patriotic. See, and you look around us, and no matter what branch you are, you're going to say thank you for your service. And if you look close enough, you'll always see a tear.
She continued on to say that the military and the families of those in the military are not alone, but that everyone together are family. Now, shifting gears over to college football, the Georgia Bulldogs had themselves a primetime showdown between the hedges against Ole Miss. Our sports team joins us now with the latest on the 2-time defending national champs. Here's News 12 Sports Director Dan Booth.
Well, thank you, Craig. The number 2 Georgia Bulldogs came into tonight's game against number 9 Ole Miss with a chance to secure their spot in the SEC championship game and continue to prove to the College Football Playoff Committee that they're very well deserving of being the number 1 team in the nation. Just before kickoff, the Dogs received some major reinforcements on offense. News 12's Alyssa Lyons joins us live from Athens to help us break down this top 10 ranked SEC matchup between the Dogs and the Rebels.
Dan, everybody was back just to celebrate senior night and give everybody some love on their last home game of the year. Anywhere you looked, you saw somebody that formerly dressed up for the Dogs, whether that was Stetson Bennett, you saw Keely Ringo here tonight. You even saw Jordan Davis come back, and you saw some guys who didn't really choose to play football, but rather played golf. We saw Brian Harmon bring back the claret jug, and Bubba Watson sat on the sidelines and watched the entire. One guy, big number 19, who hasn't played a game since October 14th. The first quarter, we saw something we don't often see from Brock Bowers. He stayed mostly inside working as a blocker. Nothing like easing back into work, right? Wrong. Bowers got his first touch of the game in the second quarter, and by the fourth, he had his first touchdown of the night, making it a 45-14 game. This was probably the most complete game that we've seen from the Dogs yet, and all phases of the game. That was once they got over their opening drive jitters. Defense forced Ole Miss to 3 3-and-outs in the second half, keeping them to just a field goal. The Dogs had 611 yards of total offense, split down the middle. Their 24 points in the second half is the best this season. So really just playing the best football that we've seen this entire season from the Dogs, Dan.
No, and Alyssa, it's hard to explain just how important Brock Bowers is to this team, but it's not just him because everybody is back healthy, as you alluded to. Carson Beck, Kendall Milton, Brock Bowers, and Ladd McConkey all on the field at the same time. We got a glimpse of what that could be tonight. How dangerous can this offense be moving forward?
Oh, absolutely. Dangerous. The most dangerous they've probably been since we saw them really pick up in the middle of the season last year. Brock Bowers, I kind of imagine him working as a little bit of a fullback. He opens up the lanes just for Kendall Milton to get through. We saw Kendall Milton absolutely shine tonight. 9 carries, 127 yards. Ladd McConkey, 4 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown there. So really just everybody's healthy. They're really unstoppable, especially when they're just trying to find those opening lanes. And Carson Beck just doing the job and getting it to them.
You know, and thank you, Alyssa. And when you combine this win with Ole Miss and Tennessee losing earlier today, Georgia has now won the SEC East, which means they have a date with Alabama in the SEC championship game on December 2nd at the Benz. In addition to all of our college football action today, 4 of our local Georgia high school teams had their playoff games tonight. I'll have the latest on Thompson, Laney, Burke County, and Washington County later on in sports.
Exciting stuff there, Dan and Alyssa. Thanks for that. Now, one of the 2 deputies struck by a suspect's car in Florida is recovering and has some good news. An update on his condition coming up next.
Richard Rogers, been watching him since I was a kid. 15 years, 12, 20 years. He influences the Augusta spirit. His honesty, every time I run into him, whether it's at the ball game or at a restaurant, he's always friendly, but he's also down to earth.
He feels local and knowledgeable.
I think he's phenomenal. He really cares about the community.
He's got a sense of humor, but he does, again, gets direct to the point on stuff. Just the way that he covers things and his attitude about everything is just something I really enjoy watching. If Richard got 30 years, he's the voice of authority around here then.
Celebrating 30 years with Richard Rogers.
The story of a kinesiotherapist who rehabs golf game.
I love the two Florida deputies injured when a man drove his car into them was released from the hospital today. Officials say Deputy Manuel Santos has a broken leg, tendon, has some ligament damage, and will need reconstructive surgery on his knee. He and Deputy Carlos Brito were struck Thursday after a suspect drove off from them before returning back to crash into them. He was arrested and charged with 3 counts of attempted murder. Santos described the moments as the SUV came towards them.
We see the car. Immediately, I try to push Corporal out of the way from what I've been told. I didn't even know I did this. I did this out of mind, just who I am. I pushed him out of the way. I pushed myself out of the way.
Deputy Brito is still in the hospital recovering from a second surgery to try and save his severely damaged leg. We'll have more on News 12 at 11 when we come back.
Flavor on and on.
I'm in the driver's seat. We keep our options open. Our night's lit. Checkers flavor is on at $1.99. You choose Jack the Barbecue Burger, the sauced up A1 Swiss Burger, or Checkers Classic Bacon Cheddar Crisp. $1.99 each. Tonight, we're on. 3 choices, $1.99. Checkers.
It's a Goldilocks experience. Some heating and air conditioning contractor prices are too high. There's an extra charge for everything. Some advertised prices are too low. You know, like not real. Contact Styles Heating and Cooling, the company that is just right. Styles has been keeping area homeowners comfortable for more than 50 years. You can't trust just anyone with a truck. Styles repairs it right the first time and replaces only what can't be repaired. See us on the web at stylesair.com.
Big wreck, tiny. Your safety comes first with the First Alert Radar Network. First just got faster.
Hundreds of people living in an Atlanta apartment were evacuated following this fire. It happened Friday night as city officials said the fire started at 11 p.m., adding that the 4-story building suffered considerable damage. Officials said the entire building ended up evacuated, but there were no injuries. The cause of the fire is still not known at this time. Now I got to toss things over to Emily Acton with our latest CSRA weather. How's it looking, Emily?
Still looking a little bit wet out there, Craig. We saw tons of rainfall. We saw steady rainfall. Let me clarify that. We weren't seeing big amounts of rain, but steady rain throughout the day today, and that trend's going to continue overnight tonight. Let's take a look at those national temperatures, though. Kind of want to see where we're at. We're all pretty mild, a little bit on the cooler side as we head into the overnight hours. Miami's the warm spot, sitting at 81 right now. It's 51 in Memphis. Wichita sitting at 49. If you go up to Buffalo there, just a few degrees above freezing. But here in the CSRA, we're sitting in those low 50s, upper 40s, and that's due to that moisture sticking around, some light rainfall, so lots of cloud cover continuing, so that's keeping us a little bit on the warmer side. But here's what we're looking at in terms of radar. That light rain that we've been seeing all day, that's continuing overnight tonight and throughout the first half of our day tomorrow. So just some steady rain, not anything super crazy, but it's been going on for a while now, so it's getting kind of into not so fun. Seeing throughout the early morning hours tomorrow, we're going to see some of that rain stick around, like I said. But once we get into the evening, things are clearing up for us in terms of rainfall. Cloud cover still going to stick around throughout the overnight hours Sunday into Monday. Monday we'll see lows in those upper 40s. And then we'll warm up into those lower and maybe even middle 60s for our afternoon. So warm up coming for our Monday. Things are looking drier, thankfully, Monday and Tuesday. But once we get into the middle of the week, come Wednesday, Thursday, we could see some more of those lighter showers coming along, Craig. But next weekend, we'll rebound to more average. So below average week in terms of temperatures. Rain's going to hold off until the middle of the week. Again, Wednesday, Thursday. Overnight lows, not too bad either. Starting from those lower 40s to lower 50s, Craig.
All right, thanks for the heads up on the umbrella. Then as we head to break, here's a live look at the Santa Monica Pier and your winning lotto numbers.
Struggling with the highs and lows.
Big box.
First Alert Radar, powered by Jim Hudson Automotive Group. On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
Saturdays in the fall are usually reserved for college football, but on this night, the GHSA Football State Playoffs took center stage across the CSRA. Let's drive over to the Brickyard, where the defending Class 2A state champion Thompson Bulldogs were battling the Jeff Davis Yellow Jackets and the elements on this rainy night. Let's get into the first quarter. Thompson's in the red zone, and they call on Anthony Jeffrey to get the job done. He absorbs the contact and gets in there for the goal line score, extending the Bulldogs' early lead. Now, after forcing a 3 and out, Jarvis Sinkfield picks up this punt off the grass. It's a short punt, and then he uses some crafty moves to break up free up the middle for another Bulldogs touchdown, bringing their lead up to 20. Let's go to the second quarter. With the rain coming down, Ja'Kias Jones is going to let this ball loose downfield, and he finds his man Storm Hunt in his element with his first name. You couldn't script that any better. Thompson obliterates Jeff Davis 40-0 for their 10th win in a row. The Bulldogs haven't lost since week 1. Back here in Augusta, Laney came into tonight's game against Worth County on a big winning streak of their own. The Wildcats haven't lost since they played Thompson 8 weeks ago. In the first quarter, All-State wide receiver Carl Holmes is nearly impossible to tackle normally, so in these conditions, good luck. He takes this pass from Javaris Harris and then turns that new turf field into a giant slip and slide for the defense. The Wildcats were in full control early on after that massive touchdown. That continued to be the case in the second when Harris pulled this one down on the option and then jets up the sideline for a long Wildcats touchdown. Laney scored a season high 67 points in this game, extending their winning streak to 7 games, and they're moving on to the second round. Also in Class 2A, the Washington County Golden Hawks came up short on the road to Cook 25-14, so they're out of the playoffs. Then in Class 4A, after a promising start to their season, Burke County also suffers their first round exit after a 21-point loss on the road to the Perry Panthers. And in case you missed it, here's a look at all of our playoff scores from last night. The Georgia scoreboard is brought to you by Jim Hudson Cadillac. This season for Evans, Harlem, Hepzibah are all over. Aquinas knocked off Glasscock County. Swainsboro and Lincoln County won in shutout fashion. Washington Wilkes came up short to Johnson County. ECI upset Lanier County in overtime. And here's a look at all of tonight's games. Thompson and Laney are both advancing to round number 2. Our South Carolina scoreboard is brought to you by the Old Edgefield Butcher Shop. Midland Valley's perfect season is still alive after a clutch win at home against South Point. In Class 2A, Strom Thurmond and Silver Bluff both had extremely impressive wins on their night, and Barnwell and Blackville Hilda and Bamberg Earhart won as well, so they're all moving on. Then in the GIAA, Augusta Prep won their first playoff game since 2014, and Westminster punched their ticket to the 8-man state championship game next week. And with all of that, that means that the state championship hopes are still alive for 18 of our local football teams. That's it for sports. Emily, take it away.
Well, we saw light rainfall across the CSRA this afternoon. Aiken reading almost an inch. Probably hit that inch mark once we hit midnight now. So Augusta saw that inch today. We'll see more rainfall for our first half of our day tomorrow.
Now that's a deal, baby. The Sonic 99-cent Fritos Chili Cheese Junior Wrap.
more story before we go. Sam's Club is selling a dazzling calendar filled with fine jewelry for the holidays. Each day, the recipient can open up a new piece of jewelry, including earrings, necklaces, and more. Metals included in the pieces include 14-karat gold. The Advent calendar comes in 2 versions. 12-day calendar costs just under, wait for it, $2,000, and a 25-day one just under $4,000. Sam's Club membership is required as well. Gonna be honest, I've got 8 siblings, 4 parents. Like, there's no way I can get one person a 25-day Advent calendar.
Hey, it's just in time for the holiday season, right? So you gotta get your gifts in while you can, right? Oh my
That
gosh.
is crazy. I think I would rather have a chocolate one.
See, there you go. That works. I also go to Sam's Club to get all my stuff for my Super Bowl parties. So that's where I will be going to Sam's Club for personally. So.
Oh boy.
There you go. Yeah. Interesting that they have all that and different prices too.
No doubt.
Big bang for the buck. Anyways, looking at the next 7 days tomorrow, still going to see that steady rainfall throughout the first half of the day. It's going to keep us in those middle 50s. We'll warm up to the 60s though come Monday, mostly dry, or will be dry throughout the day. Monday and Tuesday, rain will return though come midweek. And we're going to see those temperatures kind of fluctuate along with that, but we'll bounce back to around an average, which is those lower 70s by next weekend. So we still got a little while for this rainy and cooler weather for us, unfortunately.
Thanks for the heads up, Emily. And that's all the time we have tonight on News 12. Thank you to all our veterans in the CSRA and around the world for your service. And to Hector, our veteran at the station, we appreciate your service and all that you do for us as well.
This is not you.
It's not me. Real people, real problems, real life solutions. Investigate TV Plus.
Live from Augusta. Breaking news.
Good evening. We start with Richmond County deputies responding to a shooting on S.C. McIntyre Boulevard near T.W. Josie High School. They say a victim was located and taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. While little information is available right now, we'll continue to keep you updated as we learn more.
So there was an FBI raid in my house, right next to me. So it was quite an exciting morning.
And as he was saying this morning, one of the 4 Georgia inmates that escaped from Bibb County Jail back in early October was arrested in Augusta. The FBI found 37-year-old Jennifer Barnwell at a house on Alpine Road with suspected drugs, including meth, fentanyl, heroin, weed, and cocaine. So far, Barnwell, Chavis Stokes, and Mark Anderson are in custody. Joey Fournier, however, is still on the loose. Pictured here. We have exclusive footage and sound from the scene today. News 12's Audrey Dickerber was on the scene following the FBI search this morning and heard from neighbors at home during the raid.
Craig, neighbors told me this is very abnormal for this area and that they never noticed anyone in the home except for people occasionally doing yard work. The street is typically peaceful, but this morning it was the complete opposite.
So about 7:45 a.m., I was about to get up to go to church this morning when all of a sudden I heard FBI open up, and so I immediately jumped up and thought, what did I do?
People living on Alpine Road in Augusta woke up and saw something they thought they would never see out their front door.
I looked out the window and there were FBI cars lining the street, blocking my car, my driveway. I looked over and there was an armored truck, guns drawn at the house next to me, and so there was an FBI raid. In my house, right next to me.
Deputies from multiple agencies thoroughly searching through the home, some with masks, coming out of the home, stacking boxes, and sorting through documents.
At first it was a little scary because this is a very quiet neighborhood, and we've never seen much traffic, much outside of just families walking the street with their dogs, and now it's FBI raid, police officers.
Thomas says he never noticed any suspicious activity at the house where the escaped inmate was hiding.
It's a rental property, and I knew the previous owner moved out a few months ago, and I thought they were doing some yard work, possibly. I didn't think anyone lived in there. So obviously someone was in there, whether it was legal or not.
Neighbors were wondering what happened.
Well, everyone tried to keep their heads poked out the door all day. You could look down the street and see people standing at the door.
And we're just glad everyone was okay.
I mean, you never want to think it'll happen to you or near you, but
Luckily, we do have a good law enforcement, and they were obviously working on this guy for a while, and they found him and they removed him.
We're still working to figure out how deputies found Barnwell in Augusta, or where they think 52-year-old Joey Fournier, who is still on the loose, is located. The FBI says if anyone has any information, to call their tip line, which we'll have on our website at wrdw.com.
Already from our team this morning, and to you, Audrey, coming over. Thank you for covering this incident all day. Now tossing things over to First Alert Chief Meteorologist, actually, Riley Hale. Riley, what are you doing here Sunday?
Hey, Greg. Filling in for First Alert Meteorologist Emily Acton tonight. Hope she is feeling better out there. And we are looking at a little bit of a warm-up over the next couple of days. Over the last couple, we've been much cooler than average. Only saw a high of 60 today. We should at least hit the mid and upper 60s Monday and Tuesday. And the good news is we do bring back some dry weather. It's been a pretty wet weekend for us, so with some much nicer conditions Monday and Tuesday. Going to be a little bit chilly out there to start off the day. Low temps anywhere from the low to mid 40s, so definitely going to need that jacket the first part of the morning, but later to the afternoon, beautiful mixture of sunshine, a few passing clouds, high temperatures remaining below average, but comfortable, most likely mid 60s. We still have high pressure north of us that's keeping a northeast wind that's going to be steady, just kind of keeping our temperatures below average over the next couple of days. Dry weather through Tuesday, but you can see some rain moving in from the Gulf of Mexico. That is expected to show up as we head towards the middle of the week. We'll have much more on this coming up in that full forecast.
Thanks for staying up late with us, Riley. Well, a wanted Lexington County suspect described as armed and dangerous is now in custody after a manhunt that ended in Aiken County. SLED, along with the Lexington County Sheriff's Department and Aiken County Sheriff's Office, arrested 33-year-old Jesse Gregory near I-20 and Holder Road. According to our sister station in Columbia, Gregory had a bench warrant in Lexington County related to a domestic violence charge. And new this evening, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott announced he is dropping from the 2024 presidential race. His decision comes 2 months before the start of voting for the party in Iowa's lead-off caucus, saying voters made it clear that now is not the time for him to run for president. And a state of emergency was declared in Los Angeles after a large fire broke out underneath a freeway. Fire crews responded to a storage yard under Freeway 10 yesterday morning. The area contained combustible materials, including pallets, shipping containers, and vehicles that added to the fire's intensity. Officials said wind pushed the flames across the street to ignite a second storage yard and threatened people nearby.
There was a lot of vehicles where people live, RVs, that were burned. Several of the makeshift homes for the people experiencing homelessness in this area were destroyed.
No injuries were reported, though, and the entire freeway was closed in both directions. Crews are still determining how much of the structure damage was caused by the fire. And a man who was being held in connection with the murder of a Detroit synagogue president has been released. Samantha Wool is believed to have been killed at her home on October 21st. On November 8th, Detroit police confirmed that a person was taken into custody in connection to her murder. Police did not release the name of the suspect or if they believe that they are the killer. No charges were filed against the man, and police are still investigating. Now, 6 people were killed and 2 others were hospitalized after a crash in downtown Houston. Officers said multiple people were ejected from the crash. Officials say an SUV crashed with a sedan. 5 men, including former NFL player DJ Hayden and 2 former Houston University alumni, died. The ID of the SUV driver has not been determined by police.
One of the survivors of the SUV and the other female who was transported is in, again, critical condition. She has life-threatening injuries.
DJ Hayden was a former first-round draft pick of the Raiders in the NFL in 2013. Authorities are still investigating the crash and believe that the sedan went very fast through a red light into the SUV that had a green light. And Philadelphia police are investigating after 76ers player Kelly Oubre Jr. was hit by a car yesterday evening. A team spokesperson said the 27-year-old was crossing the street near his residence when he was hit. Officials say he went to the hospital and was released a few hours later. The Sixers have not revealed how severe his injuries are, but say he's not expected to miss the rest of the season. So far, no description of a suspect vehicle has been released. Oubre is in his first season with the 76ers. Well, coming up, a rising TV star raised from our Augusta Boys and Girls Club. We'll hear from actor Maurice Johnson coming up next.
Big Wreck, Tiny check? What the heck?
Those modern car problems, just like the Butler do it.
3 people are dead and more than a dozen are injured after an early morning apartment fire in Brooklyn. Fire crews arrived around 5 a.m. to find the 3-story building fully engulfed in flames. It triggered a rapid response from firefighters. 3 adults were pulled from the building and later died at the hospital. The fire chief spoke on trying to search the building.
An operation like this, when you have heavy fire on multiple floors of the building, is time consuming to extinguish. We have to stretch multiple hand lines to each floor. Very dangerous operation for our firefighters.
At least 3 others from the brownstone, as well as 1 firefighter and others from connected buildings were injured as well. House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke about how House Republicans plan to avert a government shutdown next week. He says they will go with a 2-step resolution. The plan would see several spending bills extended until January 19th. Other bills would go on a continuing resolution until February 2nd. It does not include aid or cuts to Israel. It's designed to avoid a shutdown before the holidays and give more time to other individual bills. The House is expected to vote on Tuesday. And a rising TV star sending love back to the community that helped raise him up. Audrey Dickherber caught up with actor Maurice Johnson and how Augusta's Boys and Girls Club helped him start his journey.
He's known for playing roles in TV shows like Chicago Fire, Vampire Diaries, Hawaii Five-0, and was part of a recent movie released back in August, Jones Plantation. While he's making his way on the big screen, filming across the country, he actually grew up here in Augusta and said if it weren't for the Boys and Girls Club, he wouldn't be where he is today. I caught up with him on why it is so important to have outreach programs to help local kids. It didn't matter where you came from. Kids were just kids.
It was a mutual respect that we had for each other because it wasn't about where you were from. It wasn't about your background. If you grew up in a single parent household, if you grew up in a project, or if you grew up in South Augusta or West Augusta, it was about how good were you in sports and how you did well and meshed with everybody on the field.
Something he wants kids to experience today. He says it's important to be present in their lives, like his mentor Gary was for him.
Knowing yourself, being confident, all of those things were things that were instilled with people like a Gary, right? He instilled like, hey man, you're great. They give you that constant reinforcement and hey, okay, now let's push it further. Let's push it further. Okay, it wasn't about if I'm going to college, it's when you're going to college.
Gary and many other mentors have made an impact on hundreds of kids in Augusta.
I had a passion when I was coming up to basically give back and be a mentor or be a positive influence on young men as I was coming up. I didn't have that when I was coming up. So I just made sure that I was able to do that.
Helping them find their way, which he is still doing to this day.
They gave me just as much as I gave them.
They urge people to make the same impact on kids today, paying it forward.
We've had a lot that came through the clubs over the years. I urge them to come back, just be present, share their stories, and I think that will do a lot for the community. Augusta's always been about community, and so that's what the kids need to see. So they need to see their level of success. They need to hear the stories, and also, just tell them about the things that we used to do that they're doing.
Maurice says he is working on a few projects in the future with the Boys and Girls Club and urges people to volunteer because he says time is what these kids need. For more information on how to volunteer, visit wrdw.com.
Busy day, Audrey. Thank you for that coverage. Now, how did Marvel's fare the box office in their debut weekend? The answer and your top 5 estimated movies coming up next.
And after a fairly wet weekend, we are drying things out to start off the week, but more rain moving in as we head later into the week. We'll have that full forecast coming up.
Rooms to Go Veterans Day sale ends Monday.
Toasted marshmallows in the summer, that's comfort food. Toasty Tootsies in the winter, that's all around comfort you and your family will appreciate every day. When cold winter winds whistle, Styles Heating and Cooling keeps you and your loved ones comfy and warm. Styles fixes it right the first time. Seasons change, but here's one thing that doesn't change and won't change. Styles' commitment to your complete satisfaction for all your comfort needs. See us at stylesair.com. You're watching News 12 on your side.
A new Marvel movie in theaters usually means a sure #1 debut. Is that still the case? Well, David Daniel has the early estimates for the top 5 films in theaters this weekend.
You talk too much.
Killers of the Flower Moon fell to 5th place with $4.7 million, nearing the $60 million mark in domestic box office. Priscilla stayed in 4th place, picking up $4.8 million. Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, made $5.9 million for 3rd place and a domestic total of $172.5 million.
Hello?
Five Nights at Freddy's is at $127 million domestic after a 2nd place weekend worth $9 million.
Annihilation. I don't like that name.
The Marvels had a less than marvelous debut. The superhero flick with the $220 million budget debuted with just $47 million, the lowest opening weekend in the 15-year history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Oof, a rough opening, but they're still on top. Marvel is still taking that #1 spot. They're still pulling it out, I guess.
No, they claimed the #1 spot, obviously a little bit lower than what they thought demand would be for it, but a few good movies out there that you can choose from as we head into a holiday season, usually kind of a prime time of year for these. So we are looking at a little bit warmer outlook over the next couple of days. We have seen temperatures stay well below average for our weekend. 57 yesterday. We did get up to 60 earlier this afternoon. We are going to hang at least below average the next couple of days, but at least warmer than what we've been. Most likely hitting the mid-60s Monday and Tuesday. Next couple of mornings, we'll be on the cooler side. We're going to wake up near 40 degrees Monday and Tuesday, so you'll need that jacket early on, but beautiful afternoons. Just going to see a few more clouds show up by Tuesday, and that cloud-covered Tuesday will be a sign of rain moving in as early as Wednesday. Here's our setup on our radar network. So high pressure still north of us. It's bringing us the cool northeast wind, which is why our temperatures will remain just a little bit above below average, at least through Thursday later into the week. But by Wednesday, that's when rain chances do look to be back into the forecast, and they likely will linger a couple of days for us before they do clear out again as we head to next weekend. So luckily, we're timing out the rain heading into this week for the middle of the weekend, not the weekend like we did see here recently. So looking at our two long-range models, there's both showing rainfall. GFS model has a little bit better rain totals out there as we move later into the week. And what's interesting is that by the middle of the week, we could have the wedge set up. So kind of like what we saw out there this weekend. And if you remember, we were showing this last week. The GFS model did a lot better job materializing the wedge and what was going to happen this weekend. So right now, favoring that model, we could see an additional maybe quarter to up to a half inch with those rain showers moving in Wednesday through Friday. Our moisture is going to stay very low though through at least Tuesday. So that's why we're not expecting much rain over the next couple of days. You can see this moisture will be moving in from the Gulf of Mexico though. So this is where our rain chances come to play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but then we will see another front kind of clear all this out as we head into next weekend. But before we get there, we are going to have those rain chances. Looking at the bird feeder early tomorrow morning or tomorrow around sunset, you do have good weather to do that. Should be relatively cool out there early into the morning tomorrow, so birds should be moving. And our sunset and sunrise are going to be around 7 a.m. and just a little bit before 5:30 p.m. out there tomorrow afternoon. Quick look at our hour-by-hour forecast. Mostly clear skies tonight, and we should see a little bit more sunshine out there Monday, and then that cloud cover will start to build in on Tuesday, and that's going to be a sign of that rain moving in as we roll into Wednesday. So heads up, just enjoy some nice weather the next couple of days, a lot better than what we've seen over the last couple, but more rain unfortunately to close out the work week, but a very nice weekend up ahead next week.
Thanks for the heads up, Riley. Well, protesters in San Francisco demonstrated against world leaders in the global trade summit known as APEC today. The Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders Conference is expected to host President Biden and other leaders from nearly 24 countries. Activists protesting corporate profits, environmental abuses, poor working conditions, and the Israel-Hamas war were united in their march.
Well, we're out here today because I think a lot of folks are upset.
Thanks for watching News 12 on your side.
First Alert Radar, powered by Jim Hudson Automotive Group. On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
Well, Dogs fans still have something to celebrate after that big win yesterday. The Dogs are headed back to the SEC Championship. Georgia and Alabama will meet on the SEC stage in Mercedes-Benz for the second time in 3 years. With Tennessee's loss to Missouri, the Dogs clinched the East for the third straight season. They didn't technically need to beat Ole Miss, but they went ahead and did it anyways, 52-17. It was the first time in a long time that we saw a rather healthy Georgia team. Just a month ago, Kirby Smart said they had the longest injury list that they've had since he walked through the front doors. Saturday night, Brock Bowers was back, Amarius Mims was back, and Kendall Milton played like he never even had an MCL injury.
I thought that was like the toughest and hardest I've seen him run. You know, he ran through tackles, he ran through people's face. I mean, he ran like he was mad, and he approached the whole week that way. He's really stepped up and become a more vocal leader. I think a lot of the credit goes to Kendall and Dejon, but a lot of the credit goes to the offensive line too.
Milton had 9 carries for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. They'll need that kind of performance come December 2nd. It will be the last time 2 teams from the SEC East and West compete in the SEC championship game. Divisions get eliminated next year. Over in South Carolina, not
shop online at bg4sales.com.
Thanks for watching News 12 on your side.
First Alert Radar, powered by Jim Hudson Automotive Group. On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
Well, Dogs fans still have something to celebrate after that big win yesterday. The Dogs are headed back to the SEC Championship. Georgia and Alabama will meet on the SEC stage in Mercedes-Benz for the second time in 3 years. With Tennessee's loss to Missouri, the Dogs clinched the East for the third straight season. They didn't technically need to beat Ole Miss, but they went ahead and did it anyways, 52-17. It was the first time in a long time that we saw a rather healthy Georgia team. Just a month ago, Kirby Smart said they had the longest injury list that they've had since he walked through the front doors. Saturday night, Brock Bowers was back, Amarius Mims was back, and Kendall Milton played like he never even had an MCL injury.
I thought that was like the toughest and hardest I've seen him run. You know, he ran through tackles, he ran through people's face. I mean, he ran like he was mad, and he approached the whole week that way. He's really stepped up and become a more vocal leader. I think a lot of the credit goes to Kendall and Dejon, but a lot of the credit goes to the offensive line too.
Milton had 9 carries for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. They'll need that kind of performance come December 2nd. It will be the last time 2 teams from the SEC East and West compete in the SEC championship game. Divisions get eliminated next year. Over in South Carolina, not to be overlooked in their 47-6 win against Vandy, a career milestone for senior receiver Xavier Legette. Legette had 9 catches for 120 yards. He now sits just shy of 1,100 for his career. Saturday marked his second straight game with over 100 yards and 6 this season. He recorded the first 200-yard game of his career against Jacksonville State.
I just love the work, man. I feel like I can't cheat the preparation. My preparation is due Tuesday through Thursday. So, man, I just like to practice so I can see the ball, see myself making that play on Saturday before it happens. I know the guys need me out there, man, so I never come off the field if I don't really have to.
Legette finally got his game ball, even if it was a day late. He is the 5th player in program history to make the 1,000-yard list. Kyler Murray's return to the Cards was bad news for another Bird. For the 3rd straight week, the Falcons have lost by 5 points or less. It's the 6th loss in the past 8 games for the Dirty Birds. They lost more than that, though. Taylor Heineke suffered a hamstring injury, putting Desmond Ridder back in charge of the ship. With 2:33 left, the Falcons were up 1 from Desmond Ridder's 9-yard snip up the corner. They had a chance to keep it from sinking, though, but the 2-point conversion failed, and Arizona wins on a walk-off field goal, 25-23. Okay, just before we go, a big day for a former Gamecock. South Carolina retires the legendary Tiffany Mitchell's number 25 jersey. Mitchell played for USC from 2012 to 2016 and was named the SEC Player of the Year back-to-back in 2014-2015. You love to see that, Riley.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Alyssa, and a big congratulations to them. Nowhere near our inch rainfall needed for our floating green pray for rain, but we did see a little bit of it early this morning. I'm going to toss things over to Studio B for Law Call with Vic and Chase Hawk.
Good evening. We're going to have a unique and a fun night talking about fighting the insurance company. And Chase, we're going to introduce a specific subject, but you can call about anything.
That's right. We're going to be talking about the insurance. So I had to set them up, of course. So
I say go for it early, though. I think ever since COVID, people have kind of adopted the early Christmas tree policy, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, now that we've gotten older, we all try to just not come back to the house and help. We just kind of like, oh,
And then
we
you
know
show
that my
up,
mom's
and then
gonna
it
be
gives you that holiday nostalgia feel.
Yeah.
Come home to it. It's great. But we got some nice weather over the next couple of days. We do have some rain moving in Wednesday, Thursday, later to the week. But until then, very nice.
Thanks for that, Riley. Thank you for joining us.